Here we go.
Get ready, get set for the best movie and pop culture talk in the universe. It's the Good Brothers on Mercado Airwaves with your hosts, Alex Mercado and Mike Mercado.
Welcome back to another episode of the Good Brothers. I'm Alex, that's Mike. We are the Good Brothers, the bestest of brothers in the Midwest, in the Chicagoland area, in the entire universe, and even the multiverse. Say hi to the folks, Mike.
Hi, folks. Mike, yes, we are the best in the multiverse, the universe, in Chicagoland area, and everything in between. How are you doing, good brother?
I'm good. I'm really excited. We have a lot to talk about. DC Fandome's coming up this week. Couldn't be more excited. We're big shills here. Send us our check via Mike's P.O. Box, please.
And it would explain when they do send us our checks where all that money went into from the Justice League. But speaking of Justice League, good brother, we get to talk about DC Fandome. We have SummerSlam and NXT TakeOver this weekend. We have some interesting news coming out of the world from Netflix, and it isn't about content actually being reviewed or anything, so that's going to be really interesting, and so much more. It's going to be a very busy week, good brother. How have you been? Are you excited? It seems like we do have some news for a lot of people who follow the trendy news and pop culture. A lot of people like to say there's not a lot to talk about. I actually feel like we have a lot on our plate this coming up week.
No, I agree with WWE having 2 pay-per-views coming out this weekend. Cubs taking 3 out of 5, NBA playoffs starting, DC giving us little snippets every day, getting ready for this weekend. There is a lot to talk about. And Netflix, causing a little stir. So we do have a lot to go over, actually.
So why don't we get into what was the main news subject of today before we get to some of the fun stuff?
Yeah.
And this comes to us from our friends at Deadline, as Netflix has issued a quick move after strong backlash today around the marketing of its forthcoming release, Cuties, the largely well-received French language pick, which won the World Cinema Dramatic Directing Award at Sundance this year. It follows Amy, an 11-year-old girl who joins a group of dancers named the Cuties at school and repeatedly grows aware of her burgeoning femininity, upsetting her mother and her values. The film is rated 82% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, and critics generally praise it for its handling of sensitive topics. Netflix recently began promoting the movie ahead of its September 19th release on the platform. However, the company artwork has provoked a storm of online criticism, with many saying the poster sexualizes children. One Twitter user called it disgusting, while another said Netflix really messed up here. Here's the poster and sparked the backlash, and you could check it out in the article or basically anywhere in the universe at this point. But I'm looking at it right now, and you look at how they're promoting it and how it actually looked up in the Sundance version of it.
It's sad. It's very sad.
So tell me, good brother, you work in the field of cheerleading, and you really help not just the girls who are going to be women in this world, but the young men who are going to grow up and be productive men in our society. When you see something like this where it's hard, you and I have always had conversations outside of here, and this is why I love our platform, because we're able to bring in what we do outside to here, and it's always been a battle for you guys to have to deal with this weird line of like pageantry and beauty and also athleticism. Mm-hmm. So when you see something like this and you see the news, what do you think of, and what do you think about this story specifically, but what you've seen in the career field actually?
It's very tone deaf, and it's very sad for these filmmakers, because from what we discovered about it, it's actually a beautiful film. It's a beautiful telling. They handle it very well as filmmakers. So it's nothing against them. It's the Netflix US site that really marketed weird, changed the bio weird, and who was that for? Especially, it's very tone deaf for the time we're in right now when we're talking about all these missing children all over the world. It felt very tone deaf. It felt very blatantly put together in a way where it is extremely inappropriate. And as a coach, there's a lot that's inappropriate about it just from the picture.
So when you see something like this, where do you think they went wrong beyond the sexualization? Do you think they also did a horrible job of presenting what we're looking at? Because when you look at it, it seems to me like we just made a music video straight up for pedophiles.
Exactly. It seems like you're trying, like you advertise like it's this dance mom, show moms, toddlers and tiaras garbage, when it's actually this beautiful movie about a girl finding herself and a coming of age tale, which are very appropriate, and we love those kind of stories. Look at Lady Bird. You completely missed the mark with the advertisement and made it into something that it's not, and now that's what it's going to be remembered for. These poor filmmakers made this film of a coming-of-age story about this young girl from a different country finding herself in this passion of hers, and now all we're ever going to remember is, ill, that was disturbing and gross what you put out there.
Does this hurt or help the viewership of when this movie comes out?
Hurt.
See, I think as cynical and as disgusting as it sounds, I think it helps it. This is only going to intrigue people and to see what it actually is, even if it's a guilt watch, even if it is to shame somebody. I think people are going to watch it.
I feel like it's where people won't even give it a chance, and I feel like that's even worse because it's probably a very well put together story. Obviously, it won a lot of accolades. I don't think people are going to give it a chance. I think we're in a cancel culture where, no, if you watch it, you're part of the problem too, and that's sad for the filmmakers.
So we'll keep our eyes on this, and we'll see how this breaks down. We'll see where people fall when it actually comes out in September, and what backlash Netflix really gets from this long term. And we'll see what the final verdict is for people who actually end up watching it, and see what it does in their own minds in this story. But good, brother, we go from really heavy news and a subject that we needed to hit on really fast to make sure that we gave our opinions, and you also are sensitive to the subject.
Yeah, but let's talk about Batman.
Let's talk about Batman. This coming Saturday, August 22nd, for 24 hours, DC Fandome will take over the internet. And what I think is Alex knows I have a hard time with the way a lot of these businesses have handled themselves during the pandemic, their lack of creativity. This is one where Warner Brothers completely knocked it out of the ballpark, what it seems like, at least for marketing.
Completely. This is so star-casted right now.
So let's talk a little bit. I'm going to go by what I wrote down over the last few days. Whatever comes to your mind, let's talk about it. Fans are hyped about it all over. If you're listening to us and you're just kind of checking in, want to see what's going on in the entertainment world since you haven't been able to go to the movie theaters or whatnot, this is going to be a lot of fun, I promise you, because the first story I have is for video game lovers. New Rocksteady Suicide Squad game has been confirmed, as well as a teaser for the new Warner Brothers Court of Owls Batman game, which seems to be in the Arkham universe. At least that's one of the rumors. Now, why is this interesting? Rocksteady was the creator of the original 3 Arkham games.
Some probably still to this day the best superhero video game of all time, I would say, with Spider-Man pretty close behind.
That's usually what the next one when it comes to that conversation. So I asked you before we started recording, for somebody who, if you're a video game fan only, and I told you, you can own, which one are you more excited for? Rocksteady doing another game in the DC universe, but it's a Suicide Squad game, or going back to the Arkham universe with Warner Brothers, who did Arkham Origins, really solid game, and with the Court of Owls storyline.
Inner nerd, I like the Court of Owls, like as a Batman fan. I'm definitely would be more excited for a Suicide Squad game because of the company, because of the whole hype about the Avengers. I know you just played the beta and you said it was very good. I'm excited for it. I love those team group ones, like the old Marvel Alliance games where you can play as multiple characters. I love the Suicide Squad, and I think what James Gunn is going to do with the Suicide Squad, just from the advertisement we get, it's going the direction we want it to. So I'm definitely more excited about that, just from the Avengers video game showing we can do a team up, the Suicide Squad by James Gunn. Put that together with Rocksteady, I think that's the game you go for.
So that's just some nice fun news for, the video game universe, and also just to show that the IPs are still really strong in that medium. But let's go into some really heavy news that dropped, which is nice that we record now, breaking the fourth wall on Thursdays here in the beautiful city in Chicago. We got to see some Batman imagery and even a logo. It looks really cool, but I need to know, we all know, what people who've listened to the Good Brothers forever know where we stand for Batman, but what did you think when you saw this image?
I love the coloring. I love the art pieces they're putting out of where they're getting these ideas from, which Batman comics, which Batman video games, which Batman animated series they're getting ideas from. They put out a nice thing about the whole bat suit that they're using for the movie and what Matt Reeves got his inspiration from. I love the red tones in the back. We're getting something very different, something I hope gritty. And Batman Begins to me was gritty, but I still want that Batman animated series gritty, like a little bit more, and I think this is what that is.
So do you think we get a trailer?
No, I don't think we get a trailer yet. I think we're still waiting on the trailer because we're going to get the Snyder Cut trailer. I think we're going to get a Man of Steel 2 announcement. I don't think we're going to get a trailer. I think we're going to get a lot, but not a trailer just yet.
So let's talk a little bit.
That'd be great, though. That'd be so awesome.
Let's talk a little bit about that. So obviously we're super hyped about the new Matt Reeves Batman. Let's talk a little bit about what we might see from Henry Cavill, what we might see from JJ, what we might see when it comes to that team at DC Fandome. Do we see Man of Steel 2? Do we see Superman? Do we see anything that has to deal with its own movie? Maybe do we get a tease of Black Adam versus Superman? Where is your mind, your imagination going? It seems like it's almost inevitable. Yeah. So I'm willing to succeed that idea that Henry Cavill is going to be Superman again. It hasn't been recasted. Where are you at? Where's your imagination going?
It goes all over the place because what they're doing here, look at something like Flashpoint, where we're getting Ben Affleck coming back as Batman, which is kind of going to show you maybe he's not done completely with the Snyder universe. Then we're getting the Snyder Cut, which everyone's super excited for. Then we're having The Rock show up to do his thing with Black Adam and Shazam. The rumors have been from day one, and maybe it's the worst kept secret in Hollywood, as no, this is where you're going to get Superman. You're going to get him in the Henry Cavill show up. Not only are we getting him there, but we're also working on our Man of Steel too. Because the issue is, some of these movies have been in production for a while. Like the Flash movie, we know we're going to get it. It's when we'll get it. The issue is Man of Steel 2 has never been announced. It's never been a thing. It's not a right now. So it would be nice to even say, hey, not anytime soon, you're getting Henry Cavill as Superman, but we are working on a Man of Steel 2. Like, I think that's enough for us to be like, thank you. Like, just tell us. I don't care if it comes out in 2030 or 2020. Like, give us the movie. Tell us that there's hope that Henry Cavill will get to be another standalone Superman. But I'm with you. I think we get the announcement with The Rock that he's going to be in Black Adam.
So if you had to put your final money on it, is it proper Man of Steel / Superman, or is it in a crossover with somebody?
I think both.
Oh, so
I think we get an announcement for both. I think we get an announcement that he's filming and going to be in Black Adam starting the next year because that's when The Rock is. And then I think we get the sly announcement of we're working on Man of Steel 2.
Does at any point a preview, a teaser, a image of Green Lantern show up in DC Fandome?
Possibly, because I know that one's going right to HBO Max. HBO Max as their exclusive. Possibly. I think we're going to spend a lot of our time with the Snyder Cut and just big announcements, kind of how Marvel did it, where we didn't get a lot of visually, but we're getting Blade. This movie's still on track. We're getting all these TV shows. I think that's kind of what we're getting. I don't think we're getting anything like here, we're Star Wars. We're dropping a trailer right now. Beside the Snyder Cut, I don't know what else they would drop. Maybe a new Wonder Woman trailer?
I have one that's kind of been rattling in my brain. We don't think about it as DC proper, but it's as much DC as anything. Do we hear any word of Watchmen Season 2?
No, I don't think so. You know what? I changed my mind, though. I think maybe, just maybe, because it's James Gunn, we get a little bit of the Suicide Squad.
Okay, if something with Harley, with Margot Robbie,
because they've been filming, they got some things and they have the whole cast there. I think Will Smith will come back. I think maybe they're keeping that low key. I do think we're going to get Deadshot back.
Interesting.
I'm excited because I think DC is making a lot of really good moves here, and they're playing in their universe. What makes these so much fun is they have the multiverses, that they have that stuff. Some of the best parts of the TV series, the anime series, is when they play around with this. The Bizarro Justice League and this other Earth where Superman's a Nazi. Like, I love when they do that stuff. And for the movies to take that step so aggressively has really done them well, I think.
Do you have a out-of-the-box guess that something might happen that you've been thinking about that hasn't even necessarily been rumored, that maybe how they end them or that they're hiding? Is there something that you kind of hope or wish that we haven't heard or thought of that's actually being in the works?
I think we kind of touched on it where they've announced they're doing like a low-key secret. They haven't announced what it is yet. And that's where the rumors are. We're getting a surprise. What is it? Is it going to be one of those lame ones where, we kind of knew that already. We already knew we were getting that. Maybe it was the Batman news that leaked a little bit about Ben Affleck coming back. I think it's the Henry Cavill news. I think we're getting him showing up and him being like, I'm Superman again. Like, I'm going to do a movie and I'm showing up here. I think that's what the surprise is.
Yeah, I think. See, I wonder if that's even considered a real surprise anymore. It just seems like the worst.
That's a surprise you're setting up, I think.
The biggest surprise might be them casting somebody, like casting the Green Lantern. I think that might be the big surprise.
It'd have to be a big name. It'd have to be a really big name, though.
Are we missing anybody when it comes to superheroes that are really mainstream at this point that we haven't seen or heard from yet from DC?
Movie-wise, we haven't seen a Supergirl. That would be a big one. Green Lantern would be a big one. But again, you would need a huge actor for that casting. It would need to be a Mahershala Ali for Blade sort of casting, which I'm with you now that you say it. I think they could pull something off like that. But it's like, well, what casting news can you really bring us that's going to, like, blow our minds? Like, you'll red herring us with the Superman news, and then out of nowhere, you're like, oh, by the way, Green Lantern is, boom. Like, who's insert actor that you can hear that's going to get you that excited? Besides, like, maybe Chris Pine.
I think maybe the other one is, do they snag a former MCU person?
Maybe.
Like that, but I think that, imagine if somehow, and I don't think it's going to happen, but if they got Chris Evans. Like all of a sudden they signed Chris Evans and he's your new Green Lantern or something.
That
like
would be
that's
awesome.
a coup. Like
Yeah.
that's something that we didn't see coming. But I keep just going back. What haven't we thought of yet when it comes to like Lobo?
A Nightwing. Something in the Batman family with like a Robin or Nightwing would be fun.
Another TV series that has to do with
maybe
Batman.
a Joaquin Phoenix Joker reappearing Batman would be fun.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of them to go to it, but and you just look at the Justice League themselves. Maybe they find a way to bring in Martian Manhunter. I just keep
John
going.
Jones.
But what is the hook? Do we see maybe a preview for the next Injustice, or do we see something like that?
Aquaman 2, obviously, they're talking about spinoffs and the actual Aquaman 2. So I'm excited. That's something we're so excited because there's so much that they've rumored and been playing with in pre-production that they can come out. Like, who knows how far they got in some of these projects.
So how do you think production-wise it's going to look?
I think it's going to look great.
So what do you think it's going to be? It's just going to be a live stream? And
yeah,
they're
kind of
gonna tweet up the
like
stuff?
you said with the conventions going on lately and these little random fandoms they've been doing for some of the smaller companies like The Walking Dead. I think we're going to get something just a little bit bigger. I think it's definitely DC's year to shine, and they're taking advantage of this like a lot.
Any final thoughts or guesses? We drop this out. We'll be 24 hours away.
I can't name an actor. I think you might be right. I think we'll get a Henry Cavill Superman as a red herring, and then we'll get a major announcement for a character. And it must be, I agree with you. It'd have to be like a Green Lantern or a Martian, someone we all recognize very much. Can't think of an actor. Like, it'd have to be a big name. It'd have to be someone that gets us all like, wow, I can't believe that. Like, again, Mahershala Ali as Blade, where you're like, I couldn't see it. But yeah, that's amazing. Like, I wouldn't have even guessed that, but that's so awesome. It'd have to be something like that, and I hope we get something like that.
My crazy, out of the box, completely makes no sense guess.
303.
We get an announcement for Justice League 2.
Maybe Zack Snyder?
That is my
And that's why Ben Affleck's back?
That is my crazy, out of the box, doesn't make any sense, don't put any money on it, but crazy if it happened that we see 2024 Justice League 2 comes out.
That's exciting.
And we go from one crazy multiverse and superhero universe to another one, good brother. Olivia Wilde, the amazing director herself, has been signed on to make a secret Marvel, what's presumed to be a Spider-Man movie at Sony. Is it Spider-Woman or is it Gwen Stacy?
It's probably Gwen. I know they're playing around with Spider-Woman. They've been playing around with a few different Spider-Woman.
Is it live action?
I don't know. I hope not.
She's a killer director.
You know what, though?
Booksmart was great.
I take it back. I don't even hope not, because we've never seen a live-action female Spider-Man, so I think that could be interesting. It had to be really good, though, because, like, besides Spider-Gwen, I don't know who else we can put in a movie that's like, oh, that grabbed my attention, you know?
What did you think of her being announced as a secret, having a secret project?
I'm all for it, and I hope it works out, but we have seen the Lord and Miller thing where we get these fun announcements, they get far into it, and then they leave the project. Especially at Sony, like that's happened before, and that we've gotten these not with the ad directors, but that we've gotten these announcements for these films that never really formed into anything. I mean, we're getting a Morbius film that we don't hear anything about anymore.
But we got a trailer.
And then we had we're getting a Kraven the Hunter movie, never worked out. We're getting Cat and something movie, and it never worked out. So I hope it works out. I hope it's something fun. You know me and Spider-Man. I feel like I do love the Far Far From Home. I like the animated better.
And it's funny you say that because just reported on August 20th, when we're recording this at 11:52 a.m. a few hours ago, Deadline reporting Marvel's Kraven the Hunter movie at Sony eyes Triple Frontiers' J.C. Chandler as directors. So it is.
So.
Sony is going all in though. I think you hired one director who had a darling in Booksmart. You have somebody who's working from Triple Frontier on Netflix. It's happening. Yeah. They are making their own universe. I was genuinely excited for Olivia to get this job. I think what she did in Booksmart was so underrated from all of the community when it came to the Academy. That movie was one of the top 10 movies of that year, and it did not get any award love. She gets it. She got how to direct the movie, how to direct characters, how to touch the audience, and you're telling me she's going to get some cool teen actress to play Spider-Gwen? All in. That is perfect.
Is she writing and directing?
I have no idea. Maybe they're giving her free reign, but I doubt they let her write.
You know, we disagreed on Booksmart. I liked it. I thought it was better directed than written. So that is what it is. I am excited for her still, but like I said, these movies tend to always veer down a path of I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, and just for everybody right now on Rotten Tomatoes, Booksmart at 97%.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little Peacock. Not a lot of news that came out from this week, but last week we saw a Saved by the Bell trailer that really upset me.
It was amazing.
We got information on 3 Men and a Baby will be done with Zac Efron, and a bunch of sports show like Rich Eisen and Dan Patrick are going to Peacock.
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air reboot.
Supposed to be grittier, of course, because everything has got to be grittier. It even was reported from Will Smith that they want to make it more grungy and real life. Like, what do you think about the news? Peacock going all in. I think the name is stupid. Like, I've always been somebody who never really gave them crap for it, but as we've gotten closer and it has become a thing, HBO Max sounds so good. Netflix is part of the vernacular, whatnot. Peacock sounds stupid.
I don't think it sounds stupid. I don't think it's the worst name. I don't think it's the best name. I think it's definitely on brand with what they are and what they do. I love all the announcements coming out because I think there's definitely an audience for what they're putting out there. It's definitely that generation that does want to see this reboots, and there's a reason that these shows going to Netflix are doing so well on these single cam shots, and it's very goofy and colorful at the same time. There's an audience for it, obviously. Maybe we're not the audience. Saved by the Bell, I'm definitely the audience, and I cannot wait for that show. But we'll see. I don't hate the name, though. I think it's on par for their brand.
Yeah, I definitely think it's that name for their brand because I hate a lot of the stuff that they're giving us. I did not like that Saved by the Bell trailer. I have no idea who that show is for because I could guarantee you no 14-year-old is using Peacock, and I don't know about any 35-year-olds who are excited to see this version of Saved by the Bell. This looks like...
I know a specific 30-something-year-old that sleeps in the bed next to you that's very excited about it. So maybe maybe the same... She's the same one that watched Fuller House. So there's a group of them out there that are looking for these random shows. Will and Grace reboot was much goofier and less serious than the original, but did really well.
But Will and Grace was on national television on NBC Easy Access, and Fuller House was on Netflix, the easiest of all access, as opposed to Peacock, where you'll be able to figure out. It's not the hardest thing to figure out, but it's not as accessible as these other things.
Not yet, but who knows? Maybe in a year we're talking like Peacock's killing it. They got so much stuff. We just don't know. It's very early in it. Who knows? We knew Disney Plus would be good. We didn't think it would be this good. We didn't think HBO Max at launch would have so many struggles off the bat and just now really get it going. We thought Hulu would have been the number 2 forever, and Hulu's kind of a package deal at this point. Amazon, at first, Amazon Prime, we're like, why would I pay for Amazon Prime? And now they have some of the best content out there. So it's very early to tell. Obviously, certain things are not for certain people. I think only time will tell what Peacock does. Look at Quibi. We thought they spent so much money on Quibi advertisement. And you're like, maybe they can do it? Nothing. It was a complete waste. Apple TV. There's just so much content out there. And sometimes it hits. And sometimes you get a Quibi.
But I think also the difference is accessibility. Apple TV was only available for people who have Apple products.
Look at YouTube Premium. Where like they lost all their shows. And like for a year, it was the biggest thing. YouTube TV, and then a year later, they sold everything off, and it wasn't making money.
And I think marketing has to do with a lot of it. Those don't sound cool. CBS All Access doesn't sound cool.
And even CBS All Access views or their number of subscriptions went up in their last year because maybe it's because now they're putting more out there, or maybe you got to build your library a little bit, or what are you offering? Like, was Star Trek really going to bring in that many people? Well, not at first, but if you put out 3 different Star Trek shows, apparently you get some numbers.
Well, I'm going to be very interested to see if anybody really picks up, if it has any steam, whether or not this is just the initial names. But I want to talk a little bit about another show that's on a streaming service that has a better name. Maybe hasn't given us the content that everybody wanted, but is the most successful when it comes to it. Disney Plus. Did we get Mandalorian Season 2 trailer on Saturday to counter-program DC Fandome?
No, they're going to wait till they have their own thing coming up later in the year, so I think they'll wait for that.
Okay, because there's a big rumblings going on that leaks and that comes out for some reason on Saturday.
I don't think we get the actual trailer, though. Good,
brother. We have a brand new show. You got to see the first episode. What did you think about Lovecraft Country?
It's fantastic. It takes a little to get into. And I wouldn't even say that. It's just, from what you see in the trailers to what you see the first 5 minutes, you might be thrown off a little. I promise you the show makes sense. It literally is J.J. Abrams' world we're living in, but imagine if the dialogue was Jordan Peele heavy, but it's directed by a completely different person. I think it's very interesting. It takes place in the 1950s. At the basis of it all, we're talking about these 3 African Americans traveling the country during this Jim Crow era, this sunset rural era, which I had no idea existed, and it makes me even more angry, and I can't wait to talk about our murder mysteries and more. We're not going to talk too much about it because there wasn't a lot about it. It's a 97 on Rotten Tomatoes so far. It's a very good follow-up to Watchmen. It's got a fantasy element. It's got the old school element. It looks beautiful. It's filmed beautifully. Our girl from Birds of Prey, she's amazing in it. I would definitely watch it, and I'll give you even more. I get more info from episode 2.
So what is it about?
It's hard to say without spoiling it. So I'd say on the surface, it's a family of readers that loves this sci-fi stuff, searching for his father across 1950s Jim Crow era as African Americans dealing with racist white people, also living in a world where J.J. Abrams created it.
Good, brother. Let's go to the Thunderdome.
Thunderdome.
SummerSlam weekend is here. NXT 30 weekend is here. AEW Dynamite on Saturday is here. First of all, Thunderdome, what do you think? We are sports fans. We are used to seeing the virtual fans, the piped-in noise. We are not, for some reason, as much crap as sports fans get, it seems like they are much more adaptable when it comes to new ways of watching their product. What do you think about watching WWE SmackDown, NXT, and SummerSlam in the Thunderdome?
It's a very good move. It's a smart move. It's what NBA's been doing, and it's been working out well for them. I think it's interesting AEW tried to one-up them with announcing they're going to have live audiences, which you and me both kind of agree where, I don't know if it's the right time to be doing it, but it is what it is. Yeah. I think what's weird about, I love the WWE announcement. I think it's a great idea. I think they're going to do it amazing. The little clips we've been getting, I cannot wait for SmackDown. The announcement alone is getting you excited for this weekend. So it was great timing. It's a great time to take a chance at it. With AEW, I thought they were doing good already with the superstars they had in the audience. So seeing fans there, I think it's more of a distraction almost, where it's like, well, that wasn't necessary. You guys already had your staff out here, and you were kind of killing it, and you were already doing very well. Like, I don't see why letting people in, like, especially such a small number, is such a huge risk to me. And there's not a lot benefiting from it because there's not going to be enough people to make a difference that your staff wasn't making a difference. That's what confuses me is I'm like, who is this move necessarily for?
I think it's just another headline move.
Yeah.
It's just to get on the headlines. I don't think it really has anything to do with ambience and whatnot. But I'm really excited for the Thunderdome. I think they have a lot of, WWE, if nothing else, knows how to put on a show. I think if they get the opportunity to put their magic, what they do with their production, it's bound to just be awesome. Hopefully they have a good idea and they have a better idea than they usually do that fans are inappropriate. So hopefully they're catching the flashing and the penises and whatnot that will be on the virtual fans. Mm-hmm. But I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be interesting. And more than anything, it's just a change of pace.
Yeah.
So let's get into some picks. Let's get into NXT TakeOver 30. Let's start with Finn Balor versus Timothy Thatcher. This coming out last minute after NXT. Who do you have in this matchup?
Finn Balor.
I got Finn Balor as well. Breezango versus Oni Lorcan and Danny Burch versus Legado del Fantasma in a triple threat tag team match to determine the number one contenders for the NXT Tag Team Championship. Who do you got?
Breezango and say the Spanish name.
Legado del Fantasma.
Fantasma doesn't get pinned though.
I go Legado.
Lorcan will take the pin.
I got Legado. Io Shirai defends her NXT Women's Championship against Dakota Kai with Raquel Gonzalez in her corner. Who do you have in this one?
I got EO, and I like the way they're building it because it's kind of like a Drew McIntyre where they really do make you think, hey, this could be it. But you definitely can tell they're doing long-term booking. They're building her strong. You got to give her opponents. At first, you're like, this is very unbalanced. With Raquel there, you're like, oh, no. Like, now this is more interesting. I can't wait to see how they get through it.
The real interesting thing will be whether or not they want to put because she hasn't been on television in a while, and whether or not they want to put the title on Dakota because they want to give it to Tegan Nox next, and they don't want Tegan Nox to maybe pin Io Shirai. I wonder if that's something to keep an eye on, but I'm going to go with Io Shirai on this one too. How about we go for the NXT Championship match in a ladder match? Bronson Reed versus Damian Priest versus Cameron Grimes versus Johnny Gargano, who, thank God he didn't kill himself, versus Velveteen Dream. Who do you got?
Damian Priest.
I got Damian Priest as well. Cameron Grimes is the dark horse in this one because he's the only real heel, and they don't have real heel champions right now.
I think Damian Priest kind of plays that tweener really good. He reminds me of when Baron Corbin got really hot in NXT his first year, and I think that if you can deliver on this, that lone wolf character that actually people get behind, I think that's why. I think Damian Priest is a better wrestler too, which helps him out a lot more.
In a really interesting matchup, Adam Cole versus Pat McAfee, who had an amazing promo on NXT. So tell me, very fun lead up, a lot of interesting people. Always going to be not long-term storytelling or good story. It's been fun. Cross-media storytelling.
This is the best cross-media they've done in the last 10 years, I would say, when it comes to a match.
So Adam Cole probably needs to win this?
Adam Cole's winning this.
But I wonder how they're getting around all the screwiness.
The rumor is we're going to get a face turn from Undisputed finally, which I wouldn't mind because I think they can do it, and everyone loves Undisputed. I think Adam Cole definitely gets the win. Pat McAfee, he's interesting because he looks the part, and he killed it. Like, you don't see a lot of people kill it on their first promo like that, so... Triple H loves him too, so that one's fast.
So we'll both go Adam Cole, but this one's gonna be a fun one. And event for the NXT Championship: Keith Lee, versus Karrion Kross and Scarlett. So they've done a lot of great building up. They love Keith Lee. Keith Lee is such a great marketable champion. Karrion Kross is hot. He's the big thing that they've signed. They've done a great job of making it seem like either one of them can win this one. I think this is the only match of the night that has a screwy finish.
It almost has to have a screwy finish, which NXT is notorious for doing good screwy finishes, though, so that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Maybe we're returning Ciampa.
That'd be interesting.
I would like to see return and just interferes and beats the hell out of Karrion Kross. It's because you're like, Karrion Kross, it's too early for him to take a loss. No, how legit it is. It almost seems too early for Keith Lee to drop the belt.
Because it's not anywhere near a major pay-per-view for him to go up to.
Unless you're going to move him up, you're getting him ready for the Rumble.
But it's only August.
That would be Survivor Series. So
exactly.
This one's tough, man. I don't have a pick here besides screwy finish, and I think Ciampa gets involved.
Same here.
Because I don't think Ciampa's moving up, and that's why you've kept him down for so long.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't kill him.
No.
Like, it wasn't one of those where you're like, oh, it's an injury angle. No, you've been saving him. So I think we get Ciampa interfering. The worst thing that would happen, though, is we get Karrion winning clean and then Ciampa coming out. I think that's dumb. And the best way to do it is Ciampa interferes with the match, and we push this to Survivor Series.
Same here.
And then we can get, because NXT is good with, well, we don't have to do the title this pay-per-view. We can do a random fun war match or a random fun triple threat non-title match, something weird like that. We're pushing this further.
Well, if they're doing the thing at the Amway, we're for sure still getting War Games this year.
War Games.
So that's going to be...
Love War Games.
That's going to be Survivor Series.
Yeah.
So the question is, do they have the champion in War Games again this year, or is he going to have a match with Karrion? Because if you have a matches with Karrion, just like Aleister did with Andrade, then he's up. But it'll be interesting if he's in the War Games match, he's not going anywhere.
Because Keith Lee's my dark horse to win the Royal Rumble.
I said he is winning the
Royal
Royal
Rumble.
Rumble.
I think that's who's winning it. Mm-hmm. And he's either going to be Drew McIntyre, who's carrying it through there, or Brock Lesnar, who retains one of the titles.
Who's fist bumped it in the ring at Survivor Series?
Roman.
That's who he's beating at WrestleMania.
That's another one. Roman's always weird because it's like, health-wise, it's very interesting of, is he going to be able to, how many months can he do? I like Roman. I'm a big Roman stan, so I would love to see Roman back in the picture.
Yeah.
But it's always interesting because you never know, well, how long are we going to have him?
What's his run this time?
Can we put the belt on him? Can we not?
Yeah.
So that's what's more, because if he's healthy to go a few months, he's getting the belt.
I agree. So let's go ahead and run this one back. Finn Balor versus Timothy Thatcher. We both have Finn Balor. For the number one contendership of the championship is the triple threat match. Alex has Breezango. I'm actually going to go with only In the NXT North American Championship ladder match, Good Brother is going with Damian Priest. I'm going to go with Cameron Grimes. For the NXT Women's Championship, we are both going with Io Shirai. In the Adam Cole, Pat McAfee matchup, we are both going with Adam Cole.
Baby.
And for the NXT Championship, we both agree that Keith Lee walks away with the championship, but our guy, our boy, the Psycho Killer himself, Tommaso Ciampa, comes back and starts another program with Karrion Kross. So that was NXT TakeOver 30. Let's go into the big show, SummerSlam. Before we get into the matches, what have you thought about the long-term storytelling they've been saying on this program? Mainly Sasha, between The Fiend, Braun, and between Orton and Drew.
They built it up really well. Like, I'll give it, this is some of the best build-up they've done in...
Here's another one that's been long-term storytelling. Mandy Rose versus Sonya Deville in a hair versus hair match.
Yep.
First of all, let's talk about that story of Sonya Deville, and it ended up being Mandy Rose were both in the house when that crazy tried to hurt them and was staying in her house and was going to kidnap them. This has been all over the news. Luckily, they both were okay, but what a crazy story. What is wrong with people? Guys, they're just actors and actresses.
It's nuts because Roxy Stryer is friends with Sonya Deville, and they were telling them that she had happened to notice that he was there and went outside, and where he was waiting for her, she almost got caught in the middle there. And it's also one of those things where Sonya Deville's a legit MMA fighter. Like, so you're like, man, in a different world, he came at her and she choked him out to death, hopefully.
Yeah, but
luckily they're both
okay.
safe and she's fine. Hopefully we can continue on normal and this doesn't affect anything.
No. And with that in mind, let's hope that they get the chance because they've been doing a great job as is on television. And now they have their time to shine. Mandy Rose versus Sonya Deville. Luckily, this is a moment for Mandy Rose, who got robbed of getting the pop of 80,000 people at WrestleMania when her and Otis got that final kiss. She gets a match now that's going to go down in the record books, and WWE loves showing these replays. Hair versus hair. Who do you have?
Mandy.
I got Mandy too.
Because Sonya's going to do something really cool with her hair, and she can.
Braun Strowman versus The Fiend, Bray Wyatt for the Universal Championship. What have you thought about, even though it may be long-term storytelling, have you liked the long-term storytelling of Braun's Fiend?
I like The Fiend. I don't like Braun part of it.
I agree. How long have I been on the Braun train?
Braun was good 2 years ago. Like, he didn't say anything. He just flipped things over and beat people up. Had he gone over Lesnar when he was supposed to, I think it would have been fine.
And then he got knocked out.
He got knocked out, and we find out like that they both hit each other legit. They both talked about it, so that makes it a little better. Where it wasn't just Brock being an ass. Like, no, they actually talked about like, hey, let's lay one in on each other. Brock's a legit fighter, so his laying is a lot different than Braun's laying. I love Braun Strowman, so it breaks my heart to see this character work. I don't want to hear him talk. The more I hear him talk, the more I don't like him. It's not his fault. But it also, he's not running with it. Look at Drew McIntyre during this time. He's one of the best champions we've had in a long time. He has no audience. So I can't wait to see The Fiend take over. Hopefully they put Alexa with him.
So what ends up happening in this match?
I think Alexa comes out, distracts Braun, and we get, sometimes the obvious answer is the best answer. And it's just Alexa and The Fiend.
A lot of people think it's actually the obvious answer is Alexa's works with Braun.
That's dumb. I hate that.
The Fiend can't lose anymore.
No,
The Fiend wins
he
this one.
can't. Not The Fiend. Bray Wyatt can lose.
Not the
Colt
Fiend.
Bray Wyatt can lose, not The Fiend, though.
Yeah. Street Profits take on Andrade and Angel Garza for the Tag Team Championships over on the Raw brand. Again, I like every part of this match.
About this.
It's a great match. The storyline's been whatever, but I love everybody in this. Who walks out with the championship in this match?
Andrade.
I actually think it's the Street Profits still. I think Andrade and Angel Garza are on the way to a program to go against each other.
I think they'll get the belts first, and then eventually when they drop it, then we split them. Because one of them's going face. Obviously, I think it's Angel.
So we have different picks on that one.
But I think they win the titles first. I think that's what makes it more legit is if they win. Kind of like a Bayley and Sasha thing, where if you do it right, let them win first. Then when they lose everything, then you break them up.
You know, what's funny, though, is we said there was only like 3 real buildups. I keep going down this card.
All of them are built. Most, like I said, they did a very good job building. And we still got Retribution hanging around that.
And we'll talk about that in a little bit, too. But let's go on and keep going through the card. Another matchup that's just been completely built up forever. Apollo Crews versus MVP. What have you thought about the Beatdown Clan? Excuse me, the Beatdown Business.
Yeah.
And what have you thought about the Raw Underground? And what do you think about this matchup? Is MVP winning it? Where are we at with that group? Is it Lashley's group? Is it who's the superstar of that group? Like, it seems like they brought in MVP to be the voice of Lashley, but he's just so great that they're like, well, we'll just push MVP too.
That's what's hard right now is I love everything they're doing except for the fact that I thought it would have been a better idea to put someone else in the match because then I feel like Apollo has to win. At the same time, I think Cedric's going to join their club soon.
I was going to ask.
But then at the same time, you can't have MVP win the title and he joins the group and then he wins. Like, that makes, see what I mean? Like,
I get it.
But if it had been Bobby winning it or something, then we can play something else. So it's weird. But I think something has to happen with Cedric because I think Mustafa Ali and Ricochet and them are doing Retribution
I
stuff.
think you're wrong.
You think it's Apollo in charge of them all sort of thing?
No. We'll get into it. Pick your match. Who do you got, Apollo or MVP?
Apollo.
I got Apollo too. We'll get into Retribution right now because we're talking about Raw Underground. What do you think of Raw Underground?
I like it. I think it's interesting. I like new. I'm with Ryan Sen. We're tried new things.
See what happens.
I think it's better than worse. It's not perfect.
Yeah,
but
it's
it's
good.
interesting, and I like what they're doing with the 4 Horsewomen.
Retribution, to me, is being led by Matt Riddle.
That would be fun.
When you saw him do that spear to Big E, I couldn't get out of my mind. Who did that spear? Who's doing that spear?
Same.
That's Matt Riddle's spear.
And I like how they're changing the heights every week, where like sometimes you get 4 little guys, sometimes you get 3 tall guys, sometimes you get a bunch of women. Like, there's a few that you're like, okay, this random woman from NXT with the hair, like, you're like, it's definitely her because she's there all the time. But everyone else, you're like, it could be. You're like, that guy does kind of look like Mustafa Ali. That could be him. Hey, that could be this guy. That could be Chad Gable, technically.
I think it's Matt Riddle.
That'd be fun.
That's the main one.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
That would be big.
He's one that you haven't seen in a while. He's
Yeah.
one of the ones you just haven't seen. And I don't know how much of that is because of what's going on.
Sometimes it's just like, hey, he just had a banger with AJ. He lost, but he had a banger, one of the best matches on SmackDown in a while. Maybe you're just properly building. Maybe you're just not being. You're like, no, we gotta be careful because there's only so many losses he can take, and we do want him to be big, so we gotta wait it out.
That's why I'm only putting that name and Aleister Black's name because only
I
names.
have not seen him in a long time.
So I just wanted it to be on audio.
I would love it to be Aleister Black now that you say that because I think that'll finally he's great, but he does need something.
Another great story. Dominic Mysterio with Ray Ray takes on Seth Rollins with Murphy in a street fight. I love this story. I was there to see the major pop that was the double 619 on Survivor Series on Lesnar. I think Dominic is maybe 3 or 4 years away from being legitimately a really good
He's
superstar.
a natural. Like, he's like a Randy
naturally
Orton, where
right
he's
there.
he's going to be better than his dad, which says a lot because his size. I remember watching the contract match between Eddie and Ray at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? Like, so we've seen Dominic grow up. We remember when he was against CM Punk and he was there with his family. So I love it. I think Dominic's did nothing but kill it. His promo
great.
skills are good. His wrestling skills are good. He's been training for years now.
And I love that
he's been training for like 4 years.
And I love that he calls Ray Hefe.
Yeah, I love it. Like, everything about it's great. So, like, there's really not a lot that can go wrong here. I do think we're going to get Dominic joining Seth and turning on his
Shooting it
pop-up.
happen.
Yeah, has to.
Yeah.
It almost has to, though.
Oh, I don't want it to, but yeah, it's going to happen.
Like, I would love, you know me, I would love a nice cheesy ending. But I think long term, for the future of the business, it makes more sense to turn him heel, put him with Seth, and then eventually we get a legit blow off.
Of Ray versus Dominic?
Something like, yeah, and then eventually Dominic and Seth in a real match. Like, I think it makes more sense. Unless Ray's re-signing and we are getting Ray for a while and Ray's going to match him. Maybe.
Would you wrestle your son?
Yeah, why not?
Would you?
Yeah, why not?
I mean, because you could obviously, you don't have to potato
Yeah,
each
why
other,
not?
but like,
Yeah.
there's always that possibility of something happening. Would you want to be? I guess you would trust yourself more than anybody else.
You would
working
trust
with them.
yourself more, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So who are you going with? Seth.
No, Dominic.
I'm winning Seth. Either way, Seth has to win this. So even if it's a betrayal, Seth's going to win.
No, I think Dominic wins.
Okay. Let's get into the double Asuka match just because Asuka's been killing it, but more than Asuka, Sasha and Bayley have been killing it Pandemic 2020. So the MVPs of Pandemic 2020, in my opinion. What do you think happens? I think Bayley's match is first. She wins. She keeps her title. Asuka then beats Sasha because Bayley does something, doesn't help her, whatnot.
First, actually, I think Asuka beats Bayley, and then that's going to make so Asuka beats Bayley, so she'll have that title. Then I think we're going to get some drama with the other match where we think Sasha's going to lose, but Sasha ends up winning, but they still have the tag titles. I think the rumor is going to be true that Shayna Baszler and Asuka or something, some random duo is going to take the tag titles, and that's when we finally get the break. At this point, I don't see why you might as well keep pushing the storyline of Sasha Bailey like being a legit match for WrestleMania. I don't think you like why not keep pushing it a little further? I think Bailey loses the title.
But, you know, it's funny because WWE gets a lot of crap from us fans when they say, oh, just go with it. They did go with it, though. They did go with Sasha and Bailey having all the gold, even though Asuka just took the belt when Becky Lynch got rid of it. So I think it's really funny that now people are like, well, we kind of want, you know, this to happen. And like Shayna and Asuka being together is a little weird. It's like, no, let them get a little weird. Let them get a little funky. Let's see what they do. Maybe Shayna doesn't need to just be the Terminator Destroyer. What happens if you put her in a tag team with her 4 horsemen and you let her mess around with Asuka a little bit?
Yeah, I think so.
What happens if for some reason Ronda does come back? At least that opens up that possibility
I
of
also
weirdness.
think that's what it does. So that's why I think Asuka wins the SmackDown. Wait, who has SmackDown? Who has Raw?
Bailey has SmackDown. Sasha has Raw.
Oh, that's tough. Because then I think so she'll win. That's tough. Because I kind of want to change it. Wins the Raw and the tag, which I think she wins the tag with Shayna. Because that's going to set up Shayna and Asuka down the line. Because I also agree that's going to set up Shayna and Ronda down the line. And Nia's there. And SmackDown kind of does need Sasha and Bailey. Okay, I changed my mind. So same finishes kind of the way it happened. But you're right. I think Asuka will take the Raw title and run with Shayna down the line and win the tag, whereas Sasha Banks will eventually be the one to take Bailey's SmackDown title from her at WrestleMania.
Before we move on to the main event, and it has earned the right to be the main event of this card, that's how great this has built up. What do you think about Payback being a freaking week later of SummerSlam?
It's weird.
Super
I don't
weird.
see the purpose of it.
Does that worry you
I
about
don't see the
screwy
purpose of it.
finishes?
Maybe that's what it is. But the fact that they added it is what's weird.
Is it because of Amway, maybe? Let's take full advantage of it.
Maybe,
But
but it would have to be more than that. Like, are we getting a Lesnar return?
I don't know.
Maybe that's what's going to happen is like, we'll get this match and we get a rematch next week and then Lesnar returns?
But we'll know way more on the next episode.
Yeah.
So we'll be able to talk a little bit more about Payback next week. But let's get to it. Maybe the purest of pure wrestling builds that I've seen in a long time when it comes to, first of all, Randall being absolutely amazing the last year, period.
Yeah.
Period. Drew McIntyre did what a lot of people thought he couldn't. He's a legitimate champion during this crazy time. There's no, even without fans, he is legitimately has earned his title run. Now we get to a point with that we normally say Drew McIntyre can't lose. He's been built. But Randall has done a great job of making people care about Randy. He looks like he's having fun. He's killing it on social media.
Yeah.
Toss-up. To me, this is legitimately a toss-up. I don't even think it's a swerve or...
It's a toss-up. I go Drew still. I think it's just great building. And I think Randall's just that good, honestly.
He's the best.
Where you're always going to believe that he can easily just come out of nowhere and take a title.
Yeah. No, he's honestly just... He's a prodigy.
And that's why when Drew going over, you're like, no, Drew legit is one of the best champions in the last 20 years, maybe.
The thing is Drew can lose the title to Randy, and they could go on to the next one. He can win it back.
Yeah.
The problem is, I think the person who takes Drew down a peg and back into superstardom, but not just the main guy anymore, is Brock. That's Brock's kill.
It's a Brock or one of the young guys, like an Alistair, Andrade, or something. Well, I think Roman's the Fiend. I think Roman goes against the Fiend. I think Roman rises up against. That's a SmackDown thing. I think. That's why I don't count him for Raw, because I truly think he's going to do that to the Fiend instead, and not Drew. I think Drew, if it's not Brock, it's one of the 3 NXT young guys that did it.
Because typically how it happens is you have each other has each other's number. So, for example, John Cena, Randy Orton, and Edge all are each other's triangle.
Yep.
Everybody has crazy wins over each other. Everybody
you had just Cena and Batista.
You had Rock, Austin, Triple H. You had Michaels, Bret Hart,
Kurt Angle.
All of them. It keeps going in a circle. You have these guys that's their trophy hunters is each other. Mm-hmm. So Romans will always be the Fiends. The Fiends will always be Roman. Randy will always be Cena. Cena will always be Orton. Mm-hmm. It just goes in that motion. So Drew is building his. And right now, Drew's will end up being, I think, will be Brock's is going to be one of them. And I think Randy has become one of the other ones, which is crazy for how long Randy Orton has been, that he has been able to make himself a legitimate rival for somebody who's such a part of the future of it. But I'm going to go with Drew McIntyre, too. I think it's a toss-up, 51-49. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's time for Drew to lose the title yet. But I'm not mad if they give it to Randy. I'm not.
No, because I also think Shawn Michaels would be involved, and I would like to see a Randy Orton-Shawn Michaels feud for a little bit. I think that'd be kind of fun.
Don't tease me, bro. Finally, good brother, it's been a very heavy episode. It's been a beefy episode. But we leave with one more little nugget. Today is the NBA Draft Lottery. The Chicago Bulls are in it. I've been doing a lot of talking when it comes to the new regime, the new era of Bulls basketball over on Sports from the Couch. The NBA playoffs have been awesome. And we are here now. What, as a Bulls fan, are you excited about it? Are you excited about television in general with all the sports? Almost sports overload at this point. What are you thinking about the sports world in pandemic 2020 now at this point, almost at the end of August?
Sports are great. We won't get too into it because that's such a big topic. But when it comes to the Bulls, they fired their head coach. It's a good momentum boost. We were just talking about it. This city needs a top 3 pick. And to keep this momentum kind of going, like, okay, you finally made a smart move. You fired the coach. Cool. What's our next move? Draft lotteries tonight. There's a chance we can get one of those top 3 picks. That's exciting. Young talent, young personalities, bring a little joy back to the city. You catch that momentum and you ride it out just a little bit. Come into the season, take a playoff seed spot. Now you're got some momentum. This city needs it. ESPN needs it. We all need the Bulls to kind of rise up again. We were talking about it even 10 years ago when they weren't great. Before Derrick Rose, they were fun. They were entertaining. You liked to go to the games, though. You paid attention because there was still hope.
Yeah, Ben Gordon, Luol Deng.
There's no hope nowadays. There's nothing to it nowadays. Like, it's never been sadder to be a Bulls fan. And like you said, I think so elegantly, is getting number 7 is going to be harder than any other championship in Chicago.
It truly is. And what's very unfortunate is this Bulls team gets a lot of number 7s when it comes to the lottery pick. And here are the numbers, good brother. To get the number 11 pick, they have a 0.03%. The number 10 pick, 1.3%. The number 9 pick, 12.9%. The number 8 pick, 34.1%. The number 7 pick, the dreaded number 7 pick, 19.7%. Number 4 at 8.5%. To be in the top 3 at number 3, 8.1%. Number 2, 7.8%. And at number 1, 7.5% chance of getting that draft pick, which comes to a top 4, 32%. And anything else but 7, 80.3%. It's a joke here in the city. That's why I keep saying number 7. Getting number 7, getting over number 7, it's so bad, but the city needs a championship. The city wants a number draft pick, and I think you want to see an energized city in that market. Give them a top 3 draft pick. But good, brother, that is it for this episode. Any final thoughts?
Final thoughts.
Follow us on Twitter at Mercado21Alex, Mike M Media, and the show is at Good Brothers Pod. We have merch. Check us out. We even have a t-shirt for the good brother.
When in doubt, merc it out.
Teespring.com/Mercado Airwaves. Patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. There you can become a producer and get interviews ad-free and before anybody else. For the good brother himself, Alex Mercado.
Adios.
I'm the good brother, Mike Mercado. We'll see you in the next episode of The Good Brothers here on the Mercado Airwaves Network.
Thanks for joining us here on The Good Brothers, here on Mercado Airwaves.
Hey guys, Mike here from Mercado Airwaves. We want to thank you so much for all the support you've given us here on the network. And if you want to see what we're up to outside of the station, please follow us all over social media. I'm on Twitter at Mike M Media and on Instagram at Mike Mercado Media. You can follow the good brother Alex Mercado on Twitter at Mercado21Alex and on Instagram at Mercado2121. The lovely Nicole Mancha is on all social media platforms at Typing When Tipsy. You can follow the network on Twitter at Mercado Airwaves. Our pop culture show, The Good Brothers, on Twitter at Good Brothers Pod. Our true crime shows on Instagram at Murder, Mysteries, and more. And of course, like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. You can see all our videos on YouTube.com/Mike Mercado 2333 or by searching Mercado Airwaves Network. We play video games on Twitch, twitch.tv/Mercado Airwaves Network. And of course, you can support our network by finding a tier just for you, whether you want early access, you want to be part of polls, you want to win contest prizes, by visiting us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. And we really appreciate it wherever you get your favorite podcast to like, rate, review, and share us. And please spread the word. For the good brother, Alex Mercado, for the lovely Nicole Mancha, I'm Mike Mercado. Thank you so much for all the support you've given us here on the network.